The city lights sparkled against the night sky, yet for Michael Harris, they only reminded him of what he didn't have. Once a promising athlete in his college days, he now sat alone in a small studio apartment, surrounded by clutter, half-written notes, unfinished projects, gym gear gathering dust in the corner. His life felt like a series of false starts. Michael was 32, with big dreams but no discipline to see them through. He had tried a dozen ventures, real estate, fitness training, stock trading, even writing a book, but each effort fizzled out when the excitement wore off. His friends called him the dreamer, not because he was full of vision, but because he never stuck to anything long enough to succeed. One evening, as he scrolled endlessly through his phone, Michael stumbled on an old video of his late father giving a speech at a local community center. His father's voice, deep and steady, echoed in his ears. Greater than, the power of a clear goal can turn an ordinary man into a giant. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. Michael froze. His father had passed away years earlier, but those words pierced his heart like never before. He remembered how his father, a humble carpenter, had built a thriving business by sheer focus and persistence. Nothing glamorous, but everything he touched was done with care and discipline. That night, Michael asked himself a hard question: what if I chose one goal, just one, and disciplined my mind to pursue it relentlessly? For the first time, instead of dreaming of overnight success, he sat down with a notebook and wrote, "In the next 3 years, I will run the New York City Marathon." It wasn't about winning, it was about proving to himself that discipline, not talent, was the real key to success. The next morning, he laced up his running shoes. The first run was brutal. His lungs burned, his legs ached, and after half a mile he collapsed on a park bench, gasping for air. People jogged past him with ease, and shame washed over him. But he remembered his father's words: discipline is the bridge. So, he returned the next day. And the next. Some days he ran better, most days he didn't. He faced rain, blisters, and bone-deep exhaustion. Yet every time his mind whispered, "Quit," he countered with, "Not yet." As weeks turned into months, running reshaped not just his body but his mind. He started waking up earlier, eating better, and even keeping his apartment tidy. His discipline on the track spilled into the rest of his life. Friends noticed. "Mike, you're different," one said. But the real test came unexpectedly. One afternoon, as Michael jogged through the park, he noticed a teenage boy sitting alone on the bleachers, head down. The boy's clothes were ragged, his sneakers torn. Something about his slumped posture tugged at Michael's heart. He stopped. "You all right, kid?" Michael asked. The boy shrugged. "Just tired of everything." Michael sat beside him. "What's your name?" "Jordan." They talked. Jordan was 16, living in a rough neighborhood. His father was in prison, his mother working double shifts. He had dreams of playing basketball, but his grades were slipping and his friends were pulling him toward gangs. Michael saw a reflection of his younger self, full of dreams but lacking direction. Without thinking, he said, "Want to run with me tomorrow?" Jordan looked at him, skeptical. "Run? Why?" "Because running teaches you how to fight the voice that says quit. That's the same voice trying to ruin your life." The next day, Jordan showed up. He ran clumsily, cursing under his breath, but he didn't stop. Michael ran beside him, encouraging him at every step. Days became weeks, and their runs grew longer. Michael taught Jordan not just about running, but about setting goals, showing up, and fighting through pain. "Discipline your mind, and your body will follow," he'd remind him. But Michael didn't realize that while he was mentoring Jordan, Jordan was also saving him. One evening, after a long run, Michael confessed, "You know, I used to quit everything I started. Running is the first promise I've kept to myself." Jordan smiled faintly. "Guess we're both learning how not to quit." As the marathon approached, Michael's resolve was tested harder than ever. 2 months before race day, he injured his knee. The doctor advised him to rest, maybe even withdraw from the marathon. Michael sat in his apartment, torn. His old self whispered, "See, this is why you never finish anything." But then Jordan showed up at his door with his worn-out sneakers in hand. "You can't quit," the boy said firmly. "If you stop, I stop." Tears welled in Michael's eyes. This wasn't just about him anymore. His discipline had sparked someone else's hope. So he adjusted. Instead of long runs, he focused on rehab, strength training, and shorter distances. It was painful, frustrating, but he kept going. Every day, he reminded himself, a clear goal, a disciplined mind. Finally, the marathon day arrived. The streets of New York buzzed with energy, thousands of runners, tens of thousands of spectators. Michael stood at the starting line, his heart pounding. Beside him stood Jordan, now stronger, taller, and full of determination. "Ready?" Michael asked. The race began. Mile after mile, the city unfolded before them, crowds cheering, music blaring, people holding signs of encouragement. The pain hit around mile 18. Michael's knee screamed, his body begged to stop. He staggered, almost falling. But then he felt a hand grip his arm. Jordan. Together, they pushed forward. Step by step, breath by breath. At mile 26, as they neared the finish line, tears streamed down Michael's face. Not from pain, but from the realization that discipline had transformed not only his life but another's. Crossing that finish line wasn't just victory, it was redemption. The crowd roared, but in that moment, Michael only heard his father's voice, "Discipline is the bridge." Months later, Michael and Jordan stood together at a local community center, speaking to a group of teenagers. They shared their journey, not just about running, but about the power of a clear goal and the discipline to pursue it. Michael looked at the eager faces before him and said, "Your life changes the moment you decide to discipline your mind. Dreams alone won't carry you, discipline will." Jordan added, "And when you find someone to believe in, don't let them quit. Sometimes, your discipline keeps others alive." The room fell silent, and then applause broke out. Michael never became a world champion runner, nor did Jordan rise to NBA fame, at least not yet. But their story rippled through their community, inspiring others to set goals, fight through adversity, and never give up. Because discipline wasn't about medals or records. It was about keeping promises to yourself, about building a bridge from who you are to who you can be. And as Michael watched Jordan helping younger kids train, he realized the greatest victory of all. By disciplining his mind, he had lit a torch that would guide others long after his own race was done. Discipline your mind, set a clear goal, and hold on, even when it hurts. Because when you do, you don't just change your own life. You inspire others to believe they can change theirs too. Michael Harris sat by the window of his tiny apartment, staring at the city lights below. From the outside, his life looked normal, steady job, decent friends, and enough to get by. But inside, he carried the heavy weight of failure. At 32, he had tried everything and finished nothing. Real estate licenses abandoned, gym memberships wasted, half-written business plans gathering dust. He had lived his life like a man sprinting in circles. His friends joked about him being the dreamer. But Michael hated the word. To him, it wasn't praise, it was a reminder that he lacked the one thing that separates dreamers from doers, discipline. That night, scrolling absent-mindedly on his phone, he stumbled upon an old video, his father giving a speech at a community event years before his passing. His father, a simple carpenter who had built a respected business with his bare hands, spoke with a conviction Michael had never been able to match. Greater than, the power of a clear goal can turn an ordinary man into a giant. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. Michael froze. He replayed the clip again and again, the words piercing his chest. It was as though his father had reached out from the past to remind him of what he already knew but never practiced. For hours, Michael wrestled with the question, what if I chose one goal and stuck to it? What if, instead of chasing everything, I focused on one thing long enough to change my life? At 2 a.m., he picked up a notebook and wrote, "In the next 3 years, I will run the New York City Marathon." Not to win, not to prove anything to the world, but to himself. It was a battle against his old self, against the quitter who lived in him. Running a marathon was bigger than just running, it was a test of whether he could discipline his mind. The first morning was humiliating. He laced up his old sneakers, stepped out into the crisp air, and started running. Within half a mile, his lungs were on fire, his legs stiff, his chest pounding like a drum. He collapsed onto a park bench, watching as joggers half his age and twice his stamina glided past him. The voice in his head hissed, "See? This is why you quit. This isn't for you." But another voice, fainter, steadier, echoed his father's words, "Discipline is the bridge." Some mornings, he ran only a mile. Some mornings, his body screamed with every step. But slowly, the rhythm of running seeped into his life. He began waking earlier, cleaning his apartment, eating healthier. Discipline was spilling over, what he learned on the track was shaping his habits off it. One evening, after a short run, Michael noticed a boy sitting alone on the bleachers near the park. Skinny, hunched over, wearing ragged clothes and shoes so worn the soles flapped with every step. Something in his posture spoke of defeat. You all right, kid? Michael asked, slowing down. The boy shrugged without looking up. Just tired of everything. Michael sat beside him. What's your name? They talked. Jordan was 16, his father in prison, his mother exhausted from double shifts. His grades were slipping, his friends drifting into gangs. He had dreams of playing basketball, but his life felt like a cage. Michael saw his own reflection in the boy's hopelessness, young, full of potential, yet on the edge of giving up. Tell you what, Michael said. Why don't you come run with me tomorrow? Because running teaches you how to fight the voice that says, quit. And that's the same voice trying to ruin your life. Jordan gave a half smile, skeptical, but promised to think about it. The next morning, Michael wasn't sure if the boy would show. But when he jogged to the park, there Jordan stood, in those broken sneakers, hands in his pockets. You came, Michael said, smiling. Don't make me regret it, Jordan muttered. The run was messy. Jordan panted and cursed under his breath, stopping every few minutes. But he didn't quit. Michael jogged beside him, coaching, encouraging. Day after day, Jordan kept coming back. Each run, no matter how clumsy, planted a seed of resilience. Discipline your mind, and your body will follow, Michael told him. Jordan rolled his eyes but kept showing up. What Michael didn't realize was that mentoring Jordan was reshaping him, too. No longer was running just about proving something to himself. Now, someone was watching him, depending on him. And that responsibility gave him a strength he never had before.